Hi, this is Linda with Sweet Aria Decor. Thank you so much for buying this Valentine wreath kit. I hope you have a lot of fun putting it together, my sweeties. In your kit, you are going to find, first and foremost, this leopard print sign. For my friends online, there's a leopard print sign. This is a metal sign, really super cute. I love it. We're going to be making this on a 15-inch OAD work wreath form. This has got the red tines. And then we have 2 rolls of mesh. I've got a pink and a red. This has a metallic border stripe on there. So we're going to layer both of these on top of each other. I'm going to cut that. To go along with this, because we have a leopard print going on in there, or is it cheetah? I don't really know the difference. We have a solid red ribbon with a black scalloped edge that is gorgeous. We have a pink ribbon that has zebra and cheetah and stripes, and it is all things wild, my friends. It is wild. And then the same one in black, all right? And then to top it all off, we have 2 sets of these ball picks, which I love. I love this one in particular because it has very chunky red sequins on there. I love things that are chunky, and I love things that are glittery. So these are perfect. I'm going to put a lot of this stuff over to the side for right now, because what I want to focus on is attaching things to the back of our sign. So this is a metal wreath sign, okay? So on the back of it, you can see that there is a piece of tape. You remove the tape, you get this little sawtooth hanger piece. Okay, so we can leverage that if we want to. I probably will. And then I'm only going to add 1 cable tie mount because I have that up there at the top. If you wanted to adjust your sign, how we're going to do it, then you could always put that, somewhere else. You could put it over here and kind of angle it out more. But I want to have this down on my sign at the bottom. So what I like to do is take one of the cable tie mounts, remove the plastic. Believe it or not, I did this once where I did not remove the plastic. So when I went to hang it, all the stuff I glued on there just came right off the back of the cable tie mount. So we want to take that off. Then we're going to take this craft adhesive. Now this one is called E6000. And sometimes it gets a little gloopy on me, so I have to basically kind of pierce the top of this. But it is kind of a pain in the butt, but it is a really good craft adhesive. You can also use super glue. People use super glue as well. So, there's always that too. But I like to do this. So I'm going to just add just a little dab in the middle, about kind of like, I add like the size of a pea. I'm quickly going to find the cap because that stuff wants to keep coming out. There we go. So now that I have this on there, I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it right down. I like to put it on the bottom. Now we've got that heart shape, so we can kind of leverage that little bottom thing right there. We're going to push it right in there. Okay. Now that's going to take a good 24 hours until it cures. So in the meantime, we are going to get our trusty glue gun. I use a Surebonder glue gun with Gorilla Glue sticks. This came from Walmart. So did the glue sticks. Nothing super special. Okay. And I'm just going to go around the cable tie mount. I want to get the glue on both the metal sign and the plastic cable tie mount so that it adheres to both. This is going to kind of be what holds it in place until that stuff is able to cure up underneath it. So for right now, Mr. Sign is going to go behind me so that it can set up. All right. Now that we have that done, we are going to cut our mesh. So this is 10-inch mesh. There's 10 yards of this mesh on each roll. And we're going to combine these 2 colors. You can use other methods. You can use a 21-inch roll of mesh and then add in some 10-inch mesh ruffles if you want to. But I save my 21-inch mesh for my tomato cage trees, and I'm going to use 10-inch mesh. So here we go. And I'll show you what it looks like once I get the plastic off. There we go. Whee! I really like using the metallic stripe, the edge. I like that as opposed to just something with a plain metallic stripe. You see the difference? This is just has metallic stripes throughout. This one just has it on the end. Because honestly, when you're making wreaths like we do, you don't really see much of what's in the middle. It's kind of the ends of what really that you see the most. So we're going to do that. I'm going to cut both rolls of these mesh at 18 inches. So I'm going to show you two different methods for that. So we're going to grab these two, layer them on top of each other, okay? And then we're going to take, you can do this with scissors. I'll do the first one with scissors, okay? Because not everybody has a rotary cutter. We're going to cut this at 18 inches. So measure at 18 inches, cut all the way through, okay? Here you go. And now you have your two separate pieces of mesh. It wants to curl under, that's okay. We're going to leave them layered on purpose. What I like to do is lay them flat. Now you can choose to keep these curls and just throw all the curls in a laundry basket, but I like to leave them flat. It just makes it easier for me. Now I do have a mesh holder over here on the side, so I'm going to leverage that right now. It's easier for me to do this. This is Susie's triple stationary mesh roller. You can get this at the link that is in my bio. If you go there, I have an affiliate link, so you can go and find that there. She also has a great glue gun holder too. All right, so I'm going to cut the rest of this. I've got one piece cut at 18 inches. When I cut the rest of this roll at 18 inches, I'm going to end up with 19 pieces, but there are 18 spots on that wreath. So I should have one extra set, which is great to have in case you end up with a section that has a splice in the middle where two pieces met and they kind of added onto the roll and it kind of overlaps and it looks weird. You'll notice it, but this should give us enough. But that's why I'm cutting this at 18 inches. Otherwise, you would need more mesh rolls if you go any larger. All right, so let's cut. And I should have used my new mat. My daughter, Sarah, got me a new cutting mat for Christmas. The funny thing is, instead of, when I have to give props to Amazon, when it was shipped, they did not roll it up. They kept it nice and flat, which is great. But the box they had to wrap this in because it's like 3 feet by, I don't know, it's 3 feet by 2 feet, and that was a lot of feet to try to get into the car with their dogs. That was funny. All right, so here we go. Keep cutting this. At some point, I'm going to kind of stop for a second. I want to lay this on top of itself, so we're kind of getting a bit more organized. So I will sometimes just start laying it down and put something with weight on top, like the pair of scissors. So just flatten it out, bring out the scissors. If I don't do this, what happens to me is my mesh will start rolling off the table, and then I have to stop what I'm doing. I have to go grab it. So if you're watching this on the replay, if you're watching this on the video posted on my YouTube channel, you can fast forward through this part. We're just going to finish cutting the rest of the mesh. I love pink and red together. I didn't always, but now I do. And I always like Valentine's Day to have a touch of black because it just adds drama. And plus, I do have kind of a bit of a dark heart. So yeah, I like that. Anything glittery, sparkly, that's my jam. All right, here we go. We're going to continue cutting the rest of this at 18 inches. When we get to the end, sometimes either the mesh is taped to the roll or in the cases I don't like, it is stapled. And it's just an extra pain in the butt, especially when you're trying to get that last piece off. I don't like when it's stapled, but it is what it is. And it varies. It's not always the same. Some manufacturer, it's the same manufacturer, and sometimes I'll see it. Here, this is stapled. So I pull the staple out a little bit, and I just kind of pull the mesh off of it. I don't want to make a hole in the mesh, okay? So I just pull the staple out. Oh, that one came out pretty easy. There we go. Now, I save these rolls because I use them for other things. If I need to cut cardboard squares, I can do that. Here we go. Pulling that off. And that one. All right, here's our last piece. This will be probably our extra piece, but that's okay. I like the security of having a little bit extra. The worst thing that can happen as a crafter is you're almost done with the project and you run out of material, and then you can't get that material. Oh, that would be the worst. All right, so we're going to finish laying this down. Sometimes I can just grab, you know, 2 pieces at once. Just kind of unroll them like that. So when you buy this as a kit, there is also an option when you go to purchase it for me to pre-cut your materials for you. Some people, I know some crafters have, you know, arthritis in your hands. It's hard to cut, so I do offer that as an option. Makes things a little bit easier. When that is an option, I will cut the mesh. I will also cut the ribbon tails at 14 inches a piece in all 3 types of ribbon, okay? So I will do that for the 2 2.5 inch and the 1 1.5 inch, unless otherwise requested. All right, here we go. Here's our mesh. This is going to be fun. Now I'm going to take this roller and put it off to the side to give us more room to work with. I also want to pop in and say hi to my friends real quick that are online. Hello, Linda. Well, I am a Linda as well. Hi, Linda. Hi, Linda. Marlene. Read some more by Stacy. Hey, Stacy. All right, let me see who else we've got joining us. Helene, Robin, Lisa, Beth. Well, good afternoon to you too, ma'am. Sandra. Oh, the craft room is clean and organized. Isn't it good to start a craft room with like everything kind of organized? It's never going to be fully organized because that's just the way it is. But okay, so now we have our mesh off to the side, and we are going to come back in with our wreath frame. Now, this is what they call a work wreath frame. It already has what I call branches or tines set on here, or twists. It's kind of all the same thing. So I like to pull them all out to start with, because sometimes they kind of overlap or wrap around the frame. So I'm going to pull everything out, right? Okay. On this frame, there are 10 sets around the outside ring, and there are 8 sets around the top. 10 plus 8 is 18, I think. Don't quote me, but I think it's 18. But we have 19 pieces, so we are good to go. So how I like to do this is they call it a cruffle. It is a cross between a curl and a ruffle. Cruffle, right? When you've got our 2 pieces, I'm going to pull them apart. Okay. I've been on a roll, and they naturally want to curl up. Okay, we're going to start with our red. It wants to curl up. We're going to let it do that. But what I like to do is I'm just going to curl it up from the bottom like twice and curl it down from the top like twice, okay? So you have your curls. The cut sides of the mesh are now facing inward. They are protected in here. That is to help keep the mesh from fraying. And then the curls on the end also add more volume. So once it's like this, we're also going to just scrape up the middle, gather it up until you have the shape of a bow tie. It is a bow tie. Looks like a piece of farfalle pasta. And we're going to open up a set of these tines in the bottom, and we're going to set that in there, and then we're just going to give it a twist. It doesn't have to be a hard twist, just enough where it's not coming out. We're going to add another cruffle into that. So we're going to start with our pink. So I'm going to go down from the top, 1, 2. I'm going to come up from the bottom, 1, 2. We are going to curl that up, okay? Pinch it in the center. Now, when I lay it on top of there, I don't want to put it directly on top, okay? I want to kind of make an X shape. So that one can kind of go up like that, and then this one can kind of go down like that, okay? So if you can see, it's kind of like an X shape, right? We want each ruffle to kind of have its own spot. So that's going to make it nice and full. Now I'm going to move to the next one. Here's where you, as the wreath maker and the designer of your wreath, have options. We can either choose to repeat this to put the red always on the bottom and the pink on the top, or we can switch it out and put pink on the bottom and red on the top. I personally like to alternate, so I'm going to put the pink on the bottom and the red on the top. All right, and then we're going to cruffle this up, put that in there, give it a nice little twist. So This is actually a fun craft you can do with kids. Now, if you do the cutting, if you cut the mesh for them, they can curl all of these. They can make these cruffles and they can put it in here. Wouldn't this make like a nice parent-child craft to do for Valentine's Day? That would be fun. I'm going to point out, so on the edge here, you can see sometimes you're going to get these little strings. That is completely natural. That is just part of, that's the nature of mesh. You just find them and you just trim them. It's kind of like when you find that little stray chin hair. I always tell the story. You find the little stray chin hairs at night and you're sitting there and just got to, like I do at night, open my nightstand drawer, put on the little light and pluck and tweeze it. You're just going to grab that little piece and you're going to snip it off. Also, when you're all done, you can go around and kind of look in the wreath to see what's going on there. Okay, so now we're going to do red on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go up. It doesn't matter if you start your curl from the bottom of the top because you're going to end up with 2 curls anyway. I even alternate that sometimes based on how well I'm paying attention. Sometimes I'm not paying attention. Here we go. I'm going to be doing a lot of Wreath Kit videos because I am posting a bunch. I just posted, since last week, I think I added 5 kits into my shop. This is the big Valentine's Day one. I have some other one-offs where I might be able to have like 2 or 3 of this kind of kit for Valentine's Day. But I have an Easter kit. I'm just waiting for the signs, so that is on order. But I posted a blueberry, a farmer's market blueberry wreath kit. That is a thin wreath kit, as well as an everyday wreath kit that says home on a piece of, it looks like brown wood or like brown shiplap. And then it has beige ribbons and then white with some greenery. So if you need to make a housewarming gift for someone, or if you are a realtor, I can make them for you. But that would be a great gift to get someone who has just, purchased or moved into a home. So I just realized I did that. I repeated that. I'm going to take this whole bunch, switch it around. Pink, then red. Here we go. That's why I like working with this though, because if you see something that you did wrong, you can just open up these twists, go back and fix it. And it's nice and easy. All right, now we're going to do red on the bottom and pink on the top. The other kits that I posted are, I know it's really, really, really early for this, but because right now it is January 5th. I posted a Nutcracker Christmas wreath kit. Why? Because I did. Never too early for that. And then also a patriotic one. It is a sign shaped like a little banner, and it says, God bless America. And that is red and blue. I think patriotic is going to be huge this year with the 250th anniversary of America coming up. So hopefully, I think that will be a good seller. I'm going to have some thick ones coming like this. I have one. I've got to just put it together tonight. But it's going to say USA. It's red, white, and blue. And it's going to have florals that come with it. So that's the nice part about these kits. You can get this as the base. So like this one comes with those sequin picks. But if you wanted to go in and add some florals, add some greenery, you can do that. You just use the kit as the base, and then you add on whatever you would like. If you have materials you already have, or if you want to go out and get something like from, Hobby Lobby or something that you might find that you want to add in. That's the fun part. Like, how I do it is how I do it. But if it's a kit, it's yours to do with however you want. You want to put the sign at a different location, you want to make a different style bow, go for it. This is just showing you one option, but the options are endless. They are. Here we go. If you're watching this on the replay, you can probably just fast forward to the part where I finished adding them all on the bottom. It is the exact same process for the top. So you could even just fast forward to the next stage where we start cutting the ribbons. Here we go. Pink on the bottom, red on the top. Move to the side. Here we go. I've seen people like clip these with like little binder clips or with clothespins to kind of hold the ruffle there. I can just use my hand. I'm not super precise about it. I don't bend things over. I just kind of like scrape it together. You can almost hear scraping sound as I go up on the mat with my nails. Which, by the way, I got my nails redone. Goodbye Christmas Mickeys. But I had pink because it matches the Valentine's Day stuff. Yay. I don't do much for my looks in terms of beauty, but I do get my nails done. It's the one thing that makes me feel somewhat presentable in public. All right, so now we're going to do a red on the bottom and a pink on the top. And it doesn't really matter if you mess it up or like, you know, you put the wrong color on the top here or something like that. That's okay. It doesn't really matter. Once you get all the ribbons on here, no one's really going to notice. They're not going to know. There we go. All right, and now I'm working on the last set over here on the bottom. This one's sometimes a little trickier to get in there. Just make sure you don't actually miss it, because sometimes when the rest of the ruffles are in there, it looks like it's all done together, but then you find that one spot. You end up with extra mesh, and you're like, wait, where does this go? And it's like, oh yeah, I missed a spot. I did that the last time I made a wreath too. I was like, that's not where that goes. Put it in and pinch. 1, 2, 3. And so this kit is available in my shop, sweetariadecor.com. I just ordered a bunch more of wreath frames like this. I'm going to have individual rolls of ribbon that I'm listing, individual rolls of mesh that I'm listing, listing signs. So I don't sell just kits. I'm expanding out to have more of that. I'm also starting to stock what we call 60919. That isn't necessarily the correct SKU number for a lot of these, but it's a mixed greenery bush that we all love so much. So I'm starting to carry that. I bought a bunch of it, but I'm waiting for my import order to come in that I ordered in August, and I think it's close to being here. It's close to being ready. And I've got at least 3 or 4 different kits that I'm going to be able to make when that stuff comes in. So that'll be fun. Here we go. So I'm on the top row now. So you'll notice that where I had one that had a red on the top, I'm now kind of going, the one closest to that is the one that's got the pink on the top, okay? Because I don't want to repeat that too much. So here we got pink on the bottom, a pink there, a pink down here, pink up here, a pink down there. Right, kind of just spreading it out so you don't want too much of the same color kind of on top of itself. So that's why I did that. It really kind of depends on where these branches are placed on the ring, because sometimes they're not very equally spaced. Sometimes it's just kind of random. And it looks fine once the wreath is done, but it just makes it a little tricky to figure out which color you want to start with in what spot. But that's all right. It all works out. You know, it's kind of a lame saying, trust the process, right? Everybody hears that. But in wreath making, it really is just trust the process, because if you stop halfway through and you're like, I don't like this, finish going all the way to the end, because it is going to end up looking different than what you think in that moment. Here we go. Going around. Beth gets anxious if her order doesn't come in 5 days. To wait for months is tough. It is tough. It is really tough. I am an impatient person. I live right by the supplier, so I can just like place an order and a couple days later go pick it up, which is my favorite thing in the world. I like to drive out there, fill up the van. Roberto, the mesh is cut at 18 inches because we have two different kinds of mesh. Now, if you were using just one kind of mesh or one color, you could cut it longer. That way you only have to put one of these ruffles in a spot, right? But because we're using 2 different colors of mesh, unless you wanted to have to buy more mesh rolls, I've got to do 18 inches, which I think is good because if I had 2 different colors and I cut it longer, then it would be that would be really big, right? So you can use, if you want it to not be so fluffy, you could use like I can't remember who commented. I'm going to give you credit for your comment. I'm going to give you credit for your comment. Robin. Yeah, so if you cut yours at 25, and then, so do you only do 1 ruffle in there then? Because that's an option too. Or you could cut them at 25 and then just alternate the colors with this. So you have lots of different options. But yeah, I cut the mesh at 18 inches, and then we're going to cut the ribbon coming up. I cut all those tails at 14 inches as well. But again, you get the kit, and then it's up to you. If you've got a method how you like to do it, it's up to you to figure out how you want to use the materials. I'm just giving you the raw stuff to work with. But the creativity and all the work behind it, that is all you, my friends. That is all you. Coming around. Boy, I'm glad I poked these up because it does get a little hard to figure out where some of these things are. All right. And again, these kits are available at sweetariadecor.com. I would like to have it where if you ordered a kit and then you wanted to order additional mesh, that I would have extra mesh available for you to order. I am pretty much at that point. My entire garage is filled with mesh and stuff like that. Actually, you know what? I gotta flip these. No, I gotta flip this around. I gotta flip these around. I was so busy talking. That was what I was doing. Flip them around. All right. And then I'm going to flip the other ones around too. I could just leave it and I don't think anybody would notice, but here's the thing. I'm anal. I would know. I would know. Here we go. I'm just making my X shape again with the cruffles. There we go. Now I've got my red I'm coming back with. Sorry. It is hard to be talking and watching comments and trying to do all this at the same time. That's okay though. Sometimes I can multitask successfully. Sometimes not so much. At some point I'm going to have to take a couple gulps of my Coke Zero over there because I am losing steam quickly. Here we go. Alrighty. Well, we're almost done with the mesh. We're almost done. My live chat keeps disappearing on me on the tablet. Yeah, white could work as well. Yep, white could work. I did just order some white wreath frames. Now, these things on here, these are little thicker ones. There are thinner ones they make. That's called a pencil work form. They had those as well. I think I might have ordered some pencil work forms. I know I did order a white, I think. And I ordered black as well for Halloween. Because, believe it or not, I am getting ready to make some Halloween kits. I just have to get into my storage unit, and it is chock full right now. But I'm also going to start making my Halloween jack-o'-lanterns. I know that sounds crazy, but I have the room to store them in the basement. Because this last year, I was so focused on the jack-o'-lanterns that it put me behind on Christmas. And I don't want that to happen again this year. So I want to be really ahead of the game. So I've got a lot of my supplies that I normally have put into storage. I now have kept out in clear bins in the basement so I can just go down and grab whatever it is that I need. And it is somewhat readily accessible. It's stacked to the ceiling. So I'll have to be careful not to topple it on my noggin. But, okay, here is the last set on the top. I've got an extra set I'm going to be able to use. Yay. Okay. Here's how I carefully store the mesh that I could use in another project. I just, boop. There's a basket over there. Just toss it over there. All right, so this one is going to be pink on the bottom and red on the top. All right. And then we get into the fun stuff. Then we can start putting on the ribbon. Then it really starts looking like a wreath. Not like this doesn't, but we want to start seeing what our vision is going to look like, right? All right. All right. And the red on the top. Okay, so we have our wreath made. It is measuring roughly, I'm going to call it, it's about 26 inches. You know, if you go like tip to tip, you could get away with calling it 24 at this point. Once we get the ribbons on, it'll be more like 26. And then the depth, if I hold it up here, we're looking right now, it is about 8 inches. It's probably going to get a little bit taller once we get bow and sign and stuff on that. But here is our wreath. There we go. Okay. Now we are going to cut the ribbons. So I'm going to put this off to the side. We're going to get our ribbons. This is a ribbon tail board. I got these from Hot Mesh Mom. I love these boards. I'm going to cut all my ribbons at 14 inches. 14 inches. So we have 3 kinds of ribbon. We have this pink with the hearts, and I'm going to cut that first. All right, we're going to take our first pattern, and the roll comes with it, kind of already has a little bend. I like to actually bend that over my ribbon tail board because it helps hold it in place. I need 18 pieces of this. Now, I cannot cut 18 pieces at once, so I break it into 2 groups. I do 10 tails and then a second group of 8 tails. So here we go, 14 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Cut that. All right. You can also just measure it out, lay it out like this, cut them one at a time on a board. However, you need to measure 14 inches. Okay. With my boards, it gives me these little loops down here. Sometimes if you buy a kit where I've wrapped it around here, it's already measured for you. But I'm just going to put my scissors down here and cut straight up one end. And then I go back to the other side. And I'm going to cut down that. Okay. Now I've got 5 and 5. I'll cut all 5 at once. So we're going to dovetail it. What that means is you're going to make it nice and stacked. Okay. Nice and flush. Bend it in half so all of the wired edges are touching. Bend the wired edges together. Then we're going to cut angled from an inside outward toward the wire. All right. You have to have good sharp scissors for this. If your scissors aren't that good or sharp, maybe just cut a few less. But that gives you this nice dovetail shape. It's a V. It keeps it from fraying and it looks really professional. Because you are a professional wreath maker. Whether you believe it or not, you are. Here we go. What is that saying? Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. All right, here we go with the second set. I do love these blue-handled scissors. These are fantastic. I should start carrying them in my shop too. They are my favorite. They are much better than the Fiskars. The only thing is they're not, you have to like cut, you have to make the cutting motion more than once because of the length, but that's all right. They make that sharp snipping sound, which I like. Okay, we have 10 of those. I need 8 more. Okay, hold that there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And then we still have quite a bit of ribbon left on the spool to make the bow. Okay, pull this out. Run this down. Snip, snip, snip on the edge. Snip, snip, snip on the edge. Okay. If you are watching this on a replay, and you know how to cut ribbon, you guys can fast forward ahead. You're not going to miss anything earth-shattering. Other than me rambling on. But also, I'm catching up with my peeps. I'm catching up with my friends on the Facebook. Hello, my friends. There we go. All right, and that was going to go to the side. We're going to go now to this next ribbon. This is, I'll show you when I unspool it. I'll tell you guys what we call it here in the industry. This particular ribbon with the scalloped edge, we all call it fancy panty ribbon because it reminds us of like the little nylon polyester little lacy underwear with the little lace we had in the 70s. Yeah, those are good times, good times. But this is fancy panty ribbon. They make this with a lot of the edge is like you can get it beige or white or black. I just thought that the red and black was going to add a little bit of drama. I also wanted to have a solid in here that was kind of breaking up. There's a lot of pattern in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we want to have some solids breaking up the patterns. That's why I did this. If perhaps you don't like the red and the black, you can always substitute in whatever other ribbon that you would like, as long as it's 2.5 inches and wired. Wired. Therein is the key, my friends. Sometimes people, you see this really cool, you know, trademarky, oh, there's Grinch ribbon online, and it comes in, it's that grosgrain ribbon where it's just got the lines and it's not wired. It's hard to work with that. Sometimes you can hot glue that onto another 2.5 inch wired ribbon. I have done that before when people have been adamant that they wanted a certain ribbon used. But I got to tell you, it's a pain, and I don't like it, and I really don't personally recommend it. So, yeah. Now, this is a little harder to get kind of lined up. You're not going to get all your scallops lined up, but you can get your dovetail in there. And then if you have like some wonky pieces, like this one's got like a little piece sticking out, you just snip it, just trim it, and then you still have a nice looking dovetail. Okay. It is harder to, you know, kind of, you gotta pay more attention when you're doing that. Anything with an edge that is not completely straight, just gotta kind of do just a little haircut, a little trim on the bangs, right? Here we go. Oh my gosh, these lights are very hot and I'm very menopausal and I'm sweating so bad. Whew. All right, so we've done 10 of those. Now we need to do 8 more. So again, this kit, if you want to purchase this kit and you want me to cut these materials for you, I can do that. You just select that as the additional option at checkout or when you're adding it to your cart. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I typically charge $7 to cut the materials because, you know, it takes a lot of time. Plus then I have to wrap it back up and package it back up carefully since it's been cut. So, but I like to offer that as an option because not everybody can easily cut. There's, you know, issues with the hands, which I have had. It's not arthritis, it was just tendon issues. But sometimes it's harder. But we still want wreath making to be accessible to everybody. Because I believe it is one of the best forms of therapy out there. Right? It gives you control. You can control what it looks like, what goes where. Sometimes life is crazy and it gets completely out of our hands. But doing something like this, you go to your quiet spot, you just focus on cutting, tune out everything else, and just focus on the materials. Maybe talk to yourself in your head. Maybe have a little glass of wine. Not too much, though, because you are working with sharp scissors. Be careful, my friends. Be careful. Here we go. All right. The last one. This is a black one. It is basically the same print as the pink, except it is on a black background. And again, I liked this touch of black for the drama. It's all about the drama. I'm a drama mama. All right, here we go. Let's make 10 at 14 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here we go. I'm going to slide that off the board. Here we go. 1.5 inches, a lot easier to cut. All right. Turn this back up. Cut it this way. All right. Oops, there we go. So we have 4 and 4. No, 5 and 5, I'm sorry. 5 and 5. I told you guys, math is not my thing. You guys know that about me, right? Math is not my thing. Cutting that dovetail. There we go. Dovetail these ends. You know, and this is that little piece that I had wrapped around the thing, so we're going to cut that off. There's the rest of it, dovetailing it right there. All right, there's our first stack. Now we go to our next group. I mean, this is not really the fun part of wreath making, guys. We know this, right? This is the work part, which is not the best. It is not super fun, right? There we go. But it gives you time to kind of think about your design. And sometimes when you start putting things together, like I might have thought that I wanted to put this pattern on top of this one, but oh, now that I've got it all laid out in front of me, I've changed my mind. It is a crafter's prerogative to change their mind. Okay, I need 4 more on each side, so 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here we go. You don't have to cut all the 1.5 inch. If you just want to use the 1.5 inch in the bow, you can do that as well. You don't have to put 3 different kinds of tails. I like to fill it out, so I'm going to do that for this one. But if you decide you don't want to do this, you do not have to put 1.5 inch tails in your wreath. Okay. I just like to. Or what you can do is if you want to, you can make like little bows with these, or like you can cut them longer, like 18 inches, and then make like little loops in the middle, like on the outside, so that way it's got something kind of covering up those little twists. That's an option as well. I've done that before, but I'm just kind of showing you the most popular, most common way to do this. All right, I'm going to stand up again because we're getting close to the time where we're going to start adding them in. Yay. I just realized I've got a set that I didn't cut the tails off on the other side here, the pink. I was like, what's that for? Oh, here we go. Because I'm a dork. I forgot this. That's all right. I was going to try to think of a sly way to make it look like I did it intentionally. No. I'm going to admit where I screwed up. I just forgot. I forgot. All right. So now let's lay all these out, and let's talk what patterns and how we're going to lay these out. I think how I have them here is how I'm going to want to use them in the wreath, only because I don't want to have leopard on leopard. But can you hear me? Leopard, can you hear me? No, it's a deaf leopard. It's deaf leopard. Sorry, I was a child of the 80s. I love that band. Joe Elliott was the bomb, man. He was. All right. If I were to go, I'm going to take a sample of each of these. If I were to go red in the back, and then put that on there, and then put that on here, it would be like this. And I think that's a lot of leopard next to each other. So I'm going to go like this. Okay. We're going to go like that. That way when we spread it out, right, we're spreading out that leopard pattern. So that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring my wreath over. Hey, wreathy friend. Here we go. I'm bringing Wreathy back. Yeah. Okay, I'm not Justin Timberlake. All right, so try to give myself a little more room. I just need some space. All right, trying to move these over here. Here we go. How we're going to do this is I'm going to lay pink, then red. You notice I'm lining them up as close to the edge as possible. Now, they're not going to be all exact because we've cut these, we've dovetailed them. It's going to be a little different. Okay, but then I'm going to fold it over, okay? Edges kind of meet. Push down, make that crease here. So when you open it back up, you can see here's the crease, right? Here's the crack. I'm going to grab it and I'm going to pinch it right up there. Now I'm going to start with my wreath on the bottom. So on the bottom here, okay? I'm going to open up the set of branches. Now it's open. You notice nothing popped back out at me because it's been long enough. it's kind of squished and molded to the space it needs to be. So that's why I like working with this. I'm going to put it right in here in the center point, and then I'm going to give it a real good tight twist. You can twist it twice if you want, but I'm not putting anything else in here, so twisting it once is fine for me. And I'll bring it together. That looks like it's a little off center, so I'm going to pull it down a little bit. That looks a little bit more centered, okay? So now I'm going to take that bottom ribbon, I pull it up. I'm going to keep the red in the middle, and then that 1.5 inch is going to come down. I'm going to do the opposite on the other side. The pink leopard is going to come down. The red is still going to kind of go across the middle, and then the black one is going to come up, right? So as you can see, this makes kind of an X shape, and then kind of in the middle, right? So it's opposites. We're talking diagonals here. That's how we're going to do this. I do the same method on the bottom that I do on the top. So I'm going to bring it here. I'm just going to start stacking and putting these ribbons on there. I have seen some wreath makers where they will just stack all the ribbon and fold all their ribbon and then go add it in all at once. You can do that too if that's how you want to stay organized, but I would just knock my stack over. So I just put them in as I layer them and as I fold them in half. Pull it out, up, middle, and down. Okay. I will tell you, if we were going to be adding in things like greenery, I just did this on a different wreath. If I added in greenery, if I added in florals, sometimes in the Midwest, things fly all over the place. It's very windy. So I would open these up. I would put the glue on my greenery, on my florals, whatever, put it in here, and then retighten it. So it actually had the added security of being within the branches for extra added strength, I guess you'd call it. We're not going to do that today. We're going to do something different with those picks, but I'll show you. They're going to go up more by the bow, and we're leaving them together in solid pieces. Okay. Let's drop it on the floor. So I know this, you might buy this kit and decide that you want to add some things to it, or you want to add greenery. That's kind of how I like to do it. Because with the mesh wreath, sometimes it's hard to really know what is it attaching to. And it, you know, the mesh might not be super, you know, super secure in there. So I just like to make sure what I put in there isn't going anywhere. Okay, I've got my third one in. I'm just going to kind of keep rotating so that my friends on Facebook across the way can kind of see. And then my friends from above looking down can kind of see how to put this in there as well. Again, if you know how to do this already, I'm going to do this same process all the way around the bottom and then go on the top. So if you're watching a replay, please feel free to fast forward to that. You don't have to watch this, but you can. Here we go. I'm going to get chit-chatty with my friends in a minute too. So you can skip the chit-chat if you're not interested. However, we are fun people. So maybe you want to be here for that. Huh? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Maybe you don't want to miss the fun. I'm going to go check out my friends out there. Hello. Okay, go back to the live chat. So Sandra, the ribbon cutting board, these are called, it's a ribbon tail board. Ribbon tail board. This came from Hot Mesh Mom. Hot Mesh Mom. You can find her on Etsy, and the set came with a 10 and a 12 and a 13 and 14. Now the style might be a little different, but I know she does still have those for sale out there. Those are lifesavers, because I originally would start with a piece of cardboard measured out and wrap it around that, but eventually it doesn't stay stiff and it loses its stiffness. Oh, Cindy can't hear what I'm saying. Can you guys all hear what I'm saying? Okay. My microphone isn't charged, so maybe crank up the volume. Will that help? Can you guys hear me okay? All right. Sorry, Cindy. Maybe if you can, I don't know if there's, I got to get a better microphone for this, get something hanging down from above. I'll try to talk louder. Okay, so we have hearts, red, black hearts, bending it in half. Here we go, pinching it up. I opened up already my set of twists, and now I'm putting it in there. Give it a good tug and then separate them out. All of your ribbon tails should kind of be independent of each other, right? They can move around. They're not kind of snagged or stuck on each other. All right, see, that's how you kind of get that nice shape around there. All right. Sorry, I'm going to try to talk louder. When I go back and edit this video, I will up the volume on it. So the problem is my phone is over there and I am over here. Here we go. Bring it over. Okay. Separating it out. There we go. Open, open. I like to open the set of tines before I get the ribbons all together. Then I don't have to worry about trying to do that while I've got something in my hands. There we go. But I will work on the sound. I will work on finding a better microphone. Or remembering to charge the one I have. I have several. They're sitting here dead next to my glue gun. I gotta get those out there. All right. Here we go. Two more sets to do on the bottom. There, and here. Those ribbon tail boards are truly a lifesaver. If you're going to invest in anything, I would invest in that before even investing in a mesh roller. I do love the mesh roller, though. If you do this a lot, the mesh roller really holds it in place. It gets me less frustrated. I don't like to craft when I'm frustrated because it's supposed to be like a happy, relaxing thing. And if things are falling off and getting snagged, it makes me not a happy crafter. Here we go. All right, this is the last set in the bottom ring. All right, so let's take a look at what that looks like for right now. This is what it looks like on the outside right now. Okay, now we're going to start adding them to the inside of the wreath. All right, and it doesn't matter where you start because it's all going to be the same. There are some people that will say don't put ribbon tails behind where you're going to put your bow because that might, you're not going to see the tails. I think you do see the tails. You can pull them out and kind of maybe even bring them in more toward the center. So I still cut tails and put them in behind the bow because that's just me. Like I said, this is your wreath. You can do whatever you want with your wreath. Okay, here we go. That, and this. I'm excited about that patriotic wreath kit because I did get red, white, and blue roses that can go in there, which I think are going to be awesome. I think I'm just waiting on, I also got red, white, and blue 60919. Very excited for that to come in, but that's on the import order that I'm waiting on. So I'm hoping to hear back today or tomorrow from them to let me know because I think the materials came in. I think they're just trying to go through the materials, separate it out, kind of like, you know, box it up and make the orders before they tell me it's in and ready. But I got a whole bunch I got to pick up this week. So good thing I have an empty minivan that I can put it into. Here we go. I have a whole routine. I go out there, I drive out there, I stop here, I get donuts before I go out there. On the way back, I stopped at McDonald's and get a Coke Zero. It's kind of funny. I've got a whole routine. It's crazy. When I go to my importer, there is a stretch of I-80 in Joliet where there is a very risky bridge. Like, it scares everybody who drives over it because it needs some work done. So sometimes I'll take a path that does not go that way. But if I'm feeling lucky, like, let's chance it. Am I feeling lucky, punk? I'll go that route. And then I'll say a quick prayer. And I'll say goodbye to my loved ones in my head before I go over that bridge. Because it goes over a river. So, yeah. And it's not a really deep river, so like if I fall, I'm gonna go splat pretty good. It's just they were doing some construction around it. I don't think that they've actually fixed the bridge yet, so I'll go the longer route. Here we go. But Aria likes those days because those are days when I will usually get up early and then I will drive her to school, so she doesn't have to take the bus. Which is great here because it's cold. All right, here we go. Just 4 more sets and then we can start on our bow, which honestly is my favorite part. Or maybe we'll put on the sign. I'm gonna check the glue. Ideally, you would glue that on like the day before you decide to make your wreath, just to make sure that that E6000 really set up. We want to make sure that that's not going to pop off. Aw, Catherine, thank you. I like to explain everything to everybody. I don't want to assume that people have made a wreath before. I kind of assume that, hey, we're all beginners, right? Because there's nothing worse than like watching someone, they're making a great, big, beautiful wreath, but you're like, how did you do that? And then sometimes it's just a little, you know, I like to focus on kind of like beginning wreath makers because I think a lot of people out there, and they make beautiful wreaths, but like it could be intimidating to try to recreate something you're seeing like that. So starting off like this with something like this, you get the basics down. Once you get the basics down, then you can start doing, you know, adding in all the extra stuff and focusing on how to add the greenery and whatnot. But it's always good to just kind of start with the basics. Here we go. Still lining these up. Here we go. Bending it over. Here we go. I've got 1 set left. 1 set left. We're almost there. All right. Oh, I can hear my garbage men are coming through. They're going to like me this week because I neatly stacked my cardboard. Yay. I bought a cardboard cutter, like electric scissors that cut cardboard. Game changer, because I've got a lot of boxes now. Love it. Here we go. I wonder how it works on foam board if I were to start making wreath attachments. Not that I'm going to, but my friend Liz from Wild Wing Wreath Design, she made the most gorgeous snowman wreath attachments. But go follow her because I know she has a lot of really awesome stuff in store for this year. Wild Wing Wreath Design. She's going to be making some really awesome attachments. I'm not going to spoil anything about it. I'm just going to tell you her stuff is quality. Quality made. Made to withstand. Because she lives in Colorado, so she's got the same kind of weather situations as I do. All right. This is what the wreath looks like with all of the ribbons on here. Okay, here's our finished wreath right now with all this on here. We're not finished though. Nope. I'm going to take a look at the sign. I think it's good. We're going to add the sign on. So I'm going to leverage the sawtooth right here. So I'm going to put a pipe cleaner through the center and just kind of bring it up in the middle and twist it. All right. And I'll do the same on the bottom here. You can slide it right through this cable timeout. And I like to twist it on here just because I don't want it sliding up and down that pipe cleaner. Now, I want to put this on my wreath kind of at an angle. I'm going to have the sign down here between 3 and 6 o'clock. And I'm going to have my bow kind of up around like 10 o'clock, okay? So I'm going to put this over the sets of tines, okay? I've got my 3 o'clock tines or twists and my 6 o'clock twists. I'm going to start with 6 o'clock right down here. I'm going to put my hand underneath that first ring, and I'm just going to have that pipe cleaner go right over the branches. It's going to go right through between the butt crack between the mesh ruffles. Okay. We don't want to pierce the mesh with the pipe cleaners ideally. Sometimes you have to, and that is okay. I'm going to bring in my hand underneath. So my hand is now underneath the wreath. Okay. I'm giving it a slight tug so that it is against the wreath, but if I pull too hard, it's going to pop off because that E6000 isn't cured yet. So be very careful with that. Just be careful. Now I'm going over here. And this is the sawtooth, so I can tug a little harder up top here. All right. Grab my pipe cleaner on one side. I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to go underneath these things and put it on the other side. All right. Flip it. So now I'm just twisting against the metal ring is where I like to do the twist. I'm just twisting the pipe cleaner together so it's making one solid piece. Okay. I did that on the bottom too. Now, sometimes it might not be even, so I'm just going to snip off the extra piece. But I like to leave a lot of pipe cleaner on here because I may decide to move my sign, right? So I want to be able to do that. I'm just going to take the extra, just bend it around the wreath frame, all right? Just bent it around there. I bent it around here. I'll flip it back over. And here is our wreath with the sign. Check it out, my friends. There we go. I'm going to pull some of these tails out that are kind of under here, just so we can maximize that. But there we go. So this is going to be our sign down there, and then we're going to put a bow up here, okay? So I want to make sure that this isn't going to be super big. So this is just going to be a nice sized bow. All right. So I'm going to put that over here on the floor. Ooh, boom. And there it went. There we go. All right, I'm going to bring over my Easy Bows Design Pro bow maker. I need a bow maker. I do. Okay. So I lost my other one, but you saw that I used 2 of those twists. Actually, I got to add another one of these into there for the bow. I forgot to do that in some of the kits I made. I got to add a third one in there because we need this for our bow. You can also use a zip tie, but I'm going to show you how to do it without that. So we have our 3 patterns. I'm going to follow the same order that I used for my ribbon tail. So we got pink on the bottom, then we do our solid red, and then we have our black on the top, okay? This bow is not going to be the 2 loops and the 2 long tails coming down. I want to do one where it has 2 loops, but it has a longer tail, but then it has a shorter tail coming up out of the top. So we're going to have short tail, loop, loop, long tail. So it's going to be, think of the shape of a cross, okay? Now, I don't have 4-inch ribbon. You can start this layer with 4-inch ribbon if you like. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should make it loop, 2 tails. Yeah, you know what? Scratch that. We are going to end up making a bow that has loops and then long tails. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I told you I would change my mind, right? All right, so I'm going to set this down. I want to see how much do I have left on the roll. I'm going to pull this off so you can kind of see how much we've got left. All right. We have about that much left. So that's a good couple yards still. All right, so we're good. Put that in recycling. All right, now I'm going to pull this tail down. I think I want this to have a longer tail. So this tail is measuring about 13 inches after it's been dovetailed, okay? So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to pinch and twist. So I'm looking at the back side of my ribbon, okay? Which does not look great, but that's okay because we're going to pull our loop over. And we're going to pull that loop in at 6 inches. I'm not slamming it down. I'm just kind of following the natural bend of the 6 inches, okay? So then pinch and twist on the right-hand side, right? Pinch and twist over here. We're going to bring that loop over at 6 inches. All right, do it again. Pinch and twist, make a set of loops, put it down, pinch and twist, make a set of loops, and then it goes down. Okay. If I wanted to, I could even add more loops. I mean, I've got enough. So we could add a loop in the center or another loop in the middle. Let's do that. We're going to add another loop. Okay. So I've got 3 loops on the left and 2 loops on the right. All right, I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to cut this just a little bit lower than this and dovetail it. Yes, both of the tails are on the same side, but once we get this, we get it wrapped up, it's all going to move to the same side. Okay, so I've got this here. I'm going to take this middle loop and pull it up to the top. Okay, then I have that bottom loop is going to come down and this topmost loop is going to kind of go to the upper left. Okay, this bottom loop is going to come up and this loop here is going to come down. So we've got 5 loops, to the left, to the right, 1 in the center. All right, because I don't like it when a bow has like a divot in there. You know, it's like, oh, loopy, but there's nothing in the middle. We don't want that. All right. Now this layer is only going to have 4. So we're going to do everything about an inch less on this. So this is going to be then a 12-inch tail. An inch less. Yep, that'd be about 12 inches. Pinch and twist. Now with this one, it's hard to tell which is the front and the back, but if you look at how the stitching is, you can see that the red is stitched over onto the black here. So that's how you can tell it's the back. Pull it over. This is going to be, this is going to be at 5 inches. All right, pinch and twist. Actually, you know what? We're going to go, yeah, we'll go, let's go 5.5. Let's go 5.5. 5.5 inches. All right, and here we go, 5.5 inches. Pinch and twist again. The second layer, I don't really check the board so much as I check the position of the loop underneath it. Pinch and twist. Okay, now we don't have to do a pinch. We just got a pinch and twist, just a pinch. And then we pull this down. And I just cut a little bit past where the other tail was. And then do a dovetail. All right. This one's going to go up. This one's going to go down. This one's going to go down. And then the bottom one's going to come up. So it's opposites. Whatever was the top layer on one side, if that goes up, then it goes down on the other side. Okay. Here we go. Now we're going to fill this in. This goes in the gaps between the pink layers, okay? So each, we've got a sight line to each loop, okay? It's looking good. And look, we have a little bit left. Save this. You can use this on another wreath. You never know. You never know. Maybe you want to add a little bit more of a tail. You know, you can do that as well. And here is our 1.5 inch, okay? So I'm going to dovetail this. Okay. Now, once you start getting to the end of the roll, sometimes it gets a little wonky. Do you see how it's kind of rippling? Just run your fingers down the wire. It's going to help it. Okay. Usually it's not so much the fabric that's getting wonky, it's the wire. Okay. Sometimes it'll start folding in on itself. So just kind of give it a good nice pull. And look, it looks a lot better. All right, so we're going to do that. We're going to start again over here, an inch less, so that'll be about an 11-inch tail. Pinch and twist, and our loops are going to go at 4-inch. Well, yeah, we're going to go 4.5. Screw it. We're going 4.5 inches, baby. 4.5. All right, 4.5. Do another 4.5 on the left. Do another 4.5 on the right. Oh, hold on. I got to straighten out my ribbon. Hold on. Hold on. The wire gets a little funky sometimes. This is normal. It happens on pretty much every spool of ribbon. So if you get one that has this going on, that's just the way they all are. All right. Especially when you're getting to the end of the roll. All right. Here is our second one on the right. And now, like I did with this layer underneath here, I want to have one that goes up in the center. So I'm going to bring this around. We're going to have 3 loops on the left. All right. But now, instead of bringing this down and cutting a tail, I'm going to pinch and twist. This is important here. Pinch and twist. We're going to bring this back over. Have about 3 fingers in here, like 3 generous fingers in here. That's going to create a sweet center loop. And then bring it down. Okay, you got a little bit left on that roll. Okay, here we go. We're going to cut this. Boom. All right. We're going to bring that middle loop on the left-hand side is going to come up to the center. That top one is going to come up to the 10 o'clock position. That one's going to go down. Okay, so these are going to kind of overlap where the pink ones are. So wherever your pink ones were positioned, that's where these are going to go. Okay, and then leave your center one in the middle for right now. We're going to take our pipe cleaner. Okay, we're going to pull this all up. All right, you're going to push it together nice and hard. Put that pipe cleaner right through your fingers. It's going to kind of right up like that. Wrap it around. Bring it up. Make sure it's kind of equal on the pipe cleaner. And then I like to just push it down because we're going to fluff it. So just give it a good at least 2 twists, okay? Now we're done with the bow maker. It's going to go over here. Here's our bow, okay? Everything's looking good, except this middle one, that little loop is going to come up, bring it over into the center, okay? There we go. I like to lay this flat. You can even just push down in the center on the table, hold it flat, and then this is how I can kind of like fluff it this way, and it kind of tends to stay in place a little bit better. I can pull my tails down. Now remember how that pink tail in the back was kind of both on the same side? Just pull the one tail over, and you'll never know. You can't see it, you can't tell. Now we've got our really pretty bow. All right. Once we get it on there, we'll also work with fluffing it out a little bit more. All right. So I'm bringing over the wreath. But before I put on the bow, remember how we had those glitter picks in the beginning? We had glitter picks, right? We've got 2 of these ball picks. We're not separating them out. We're going to put them there, and then the bow on top. Okay, so that's how this is going to be. So what I like to do is I'm going to open up. This is going to be that way. We're going to open up this one that's kind of diagonal to this, the 10 o'clock position, okay? Or I guess it's 11. It's 11 o'clock. Okay, that is 12 and that is 9. That is 11, okay? I'm going to put one of these in here now. Remember, you got to put the balls in front of the sticks, okay? So kind of have to maneuver it a little bit, all right? We shouldn't have to pull hard. We're going to lay that in here, all right? And we're going to do the same with the other one. We're going to lay that in here, put that underneath there, okay? So that they're kind of both right here. Now I'm going to pull and twist this real nice and tight, like 2 or 3 times. That's going to help hold it in there, but we don't want to rely on just having one twist in there. So the 9 o'clock twist. Okay, I'm going to open this one up, and I'm going to put in the stem. It's holding a black one, so part of the stem is going to go in there. Now, I can take the stem that's from the other one, Where's my cutters? Where did my cutters go? Here we go. The stem from this one is sticking out, so I can cut that. We don't need that. Okay. Just like over here, the stem on this side. See the stem, that's a little extra. We can cut that off. We don't need that. Okay. All right, but I did wrap that around. Now up here, we're going to open that up at like the 12 o'clock position. I'm going to move this over. And it's going to get just this thick stem part, okay? There's like a real thick stem part. Let's separate these out. This part right here, that is what's going to go in here. Put that in here. Give it a good twist, okay? All right, and then these come back over. And it camouflages all of that, so you're not even going to see it. You're not even going to see it, okay? And we can play with pulling it apart if we want a little bit more space. We can pull it apart, whatnot. But when I am all done and I like the placement of everything, I will go in there and hit this with some hot glue just to make sure that it's not going to pop out from anywhere, okay? All right. Here we go. All right, now here is our bow. That's going to go, remember this position? All right. I'm going to put my hand under the wreath just to help me grab the pipe cleaner as it comes down over that ring. Where on earth are you? All right. And the same with the one on the other side. All right. I'm going to take these ends and I'm just going to twist them together underneath the wreath frame. Oops, I lost it. You can always take more pipe cleaners and make a longer one. If you have like an 18 or 24 inch pipe cleaner, that also works well too. Okay, I've twisted it. Okay, and now we're going to take a look at the placement of our bow and then decide if we want to move around the balls. Now these balls are, they're twisted on the little stems. We can pull those out. We can push them back in, right? Because I think this is going to want to come up more. We can maybe pull this out a little bit more. Pull this one out a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So when I'm looking at it, again, the bow is going to be up here. The reason I was able to do a bow with two tails coming down is because it's okay if the tails spread out because of the heart shape, right? It can kind of follow that, and we're good with that. If you just want to, you can curl this a little bit more. Curl it with your finger, right? And you kind of make that curly shape, and then boom, it takes up some of that space. All right, bring this out. I don't really want the loops to be obscuring any of the balls. Okay. Then we go through, as we've been working on this, some of your tails might get a little bent, might get a little squished. That's okay, it happens. Just go back, give it a nice final fluff where you're pulling your tails. Run your fingers down these wires, okay? Run them down. Fluff it all out, all nice. Okay. Let me hold it up for myself to see if I like it. I do. I do. All right, so here's our finished wreath. Here's what we did today. Here is our finished wreath, my friends. My friends from above, all right? You can play with how you want your loops, how you want your tails, but I'm really happy with how this turned out. This is an easy way to add ball picks in there without having to worry about cutting things down. Just have it come out from right behind your bow. Nice and easy. This kit is available in my shop, sweetariadecor.com. It's going to take you there. I do have more kits on the way, so if you see that it is sold out, send me a message and I will let you know. I'm going to go in and turn on the restock request option for this one. I don't know if that will tell you when one comes in or not, but I want to make sure you know. So message me and I will let you know when that is going to be coming in. All right. Thank you so much, my friends, for joining me today. I really appreciate you spending your time with me, and I hope that you love crafting as much as I do. Let us make this a crafty 2026.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. You can shop all of my items at sweetariadecor.com, and you can follow me all over social media.